Hey guys, this is Brian. I'm walking down a basically a brush berm that I laid out as I was lollipopping some of these juniper trees. I laid this all the brush that I didn't want down on a contour line. It's actually slightly off contour. I'm walking in the direction of water flow in a big rain, but I want to show just all the brush down. You just sort of pile it up, make these long skinny brush piles. Later on you can come and cover them up with dirt. This was some dirt I dug out. It's mixed with some compost, and there are a lot of rocks in it because when I was digging I dug into the ground a little bit, and that's going to pull the water through my landscape. But I wanted you to see all of the brush laid down on contour. So all of these berms you're going to see here in a minute, almost all of them are covering up a bunch of brush. So here we have some I just piled, you know, scoop from the bobcat, and I haven't raked it smooth yet. I can see that deer are walking through here. Planted a lot of cover crops on this. Here's another example as I walk towards the fence line. I've lollipopped some of these trees up so they're taller and straighter than they used to be, cutting off some of the branches that go onto the side. And as I lay these down, they're in a pattern that's going to pull water off the landscape. As water's coming down this landscape, it's going to catch some of this water, pull it off at a much slower grade, pond it up here. When this gets full, it's going to overflow, come down, pond it up here. When that gets full, it's going to overflow and go right into the woods, where it's going to flow downstream through a little woodland and hit that next berm that you can see right there, and that's going to pull it off another 200 meters back into the woods. And then I've got several spots back in there that I've already videotaped before that will zig and zag the water through my property. So basically I'm just not letting it, I'm not making it easy for water to leave. I don't want the water to leave. You know, in Texas, water is a very precious commodity, and the stuff that comes out of the sky, sometimes you can get a whole year's worth of rain in one weekend, and in most people that water leaves their land within a couple of hours, and it takes their soil, their leaves, their organic matter, their future nutrition with them, and I'm keeping it by making a beaver biomimicry dam, and then another dam, and then another dam that goes back through the woods here. And that's the one that goes out into the spot where I highlighted earlier where the cover crops are coming up really great. And then another dam, and then another dam, and so forth. So I'm gonna turn this off. I've already walked here once, but I did want to show the difference between what you see here that looks just like, you know, soil or mulch piled up in this pile, bloop, but it's actually covering up a whole lot of debris. I mean, literally tons of branches, you know, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, thousands of feet of cut branches off these trees to take these from being a very, you know, bushy form that you can't really walk through over there, and making it a much more open form, taking trees where they're relatively tall and straight, and those trees just recently were nice and bushy. I will show one other thing here because I'm here. A lot of people are like, why are you leaving some of these branches? And what I'm doing is I'm cutting these branches off where they're further away from the tree. And now I can come back later with a laser level or just a normal level, and I can cut each of these three things off at the exact same level and have a nice little platform to set my drink while I'm gardening, as an example. In other areas where it's down lower on the ground, you've got a nice little bench. So I'm basically making all these little built-in tables in my natural landscape using the natural building materials of that tree. So a lot of people look at, and here's another example, you know, why didn't you just take that whole tree down to the ground? Well, I'm going to figure out a way to make that tree into the bracing for a nice little table. So I'll get maybe one of the nice big trees, I'll get it slabbed, and I'll set it on there. And I was about to walk away without showing this last example. I want to highlight that some of these trees used to be enormous. So, since this tree was cut down, and it is at least 2 feet in diameter, so there is one of my feet, so there's 1 foot, maybe a little bit less than 2 feet in diameter, used to be nice and tall and straight. It's still 12 feet tall. You can see it's all burned out. This is a wildfire scar, but it was an intentional fire. They hacked these branches off with an axe. They hacked the branches off with an axe, and they piled all the debris around it and burned it. And then you have this juniper tree that grew up beside it. So I can guarantee you that this tree was not growing there when this tree, live, was not growing there when this tree dead and burned was being burned, or otherwise this tree would have been dead. So this tree, maybe in the last 40, 50 years, has grown up, which means this stump, which is still incredibly in the ground, extremely sturdy, was burned out 40 or 50 years ago. So imagine if that tall, straight, beautiful tree would have been treated like the lollipop method that I use, and instead of you cutting the whole tree down and burning it, you cut that branch off, cut some of these side branches off, do what I'm doing here, cut this side branch off, cut that side branch, cut that side branch, cut that side branch, and make it into a taller, straighter tree. And then instead of burning it, let it grow for the next 50 years. Let it grow for the next 150 years. These trees can live a remarkably long time. And I want this land, years after I'm dead, to be covered in enormous, beautiful, native juniper trees. We're also, my parents bought a place in southern Oregon, and I'm doing the same thing on their property there, but I haven't taken the time to videotape it because I basically live in Texas and Georgia and not in Oregon. But next time I go out, I'll make sure to take some good videos. Thanks for watching, guys.